Okay, so if you know what to look for and you know what you're talking about when it comes to the occult and how they hide in plain sight, then this picture will clearly and obviously raise a red flag. It will obviously raise an eyebrow. So what's wrong with this picture? Give you a second. Look at his hands. What's he doing? He's doing the as above, so below symbol. That's an occult symbol. Okay? People don't just do that. Nobody just does that in a picture on purpose. This guy knows exactly what he's doing. Uh, he's a deep state agent. Sorry to say. Why? It's COINTELPRO. COINTELPRO. What does COINTELPRO do? They infiltrate movements, they infiltrate groups that they want to redirect and control. They did it with the Black Panthers, they did it with the hippie movement, probably more and more. They worked in the drug trade, etc., etc. When you study the other history, conspiracy history, the occult history, you'll realize this is not a coincidence. This guy is at the forefront. He's one of the most Googled men alive for a reason. You don't just get that. That's very difficult or impossible to do. You don't just get that. Because he's so dynamic, really. Oh, because he's so charismatic. No, he's got a whole. He's got the Matrix behind him, who's supporting him. The man who told you that he was outside of the Matrix, that the Matrix was attacking him, is the man who is a Matrix agent. You've been lied to. All the world is a stage. Okay? I wrote something up here in my notes. So, Andrew Tate, seen here doing the occult as above, so below hand symbol. This is no coincidence. This is what we call hiding in plain sight. The man is a part of the deep state. He claims that he claims is out to get him. He's a part of the Matrix. He claims he has escaped from. I believe he's an agent who purposefully was implemented into the red pill community to deceive and reroute men to the wrong things. It's no coincidence that one of his first major platforms was the Fresh and Fit podcast, who also try to get their followers off the right path. I made a video about Myron Gaines the other day where I said it's just very, very difficult for me to believe that the guy's not an agent, because he is misleading men. He's leading men down the wrong path, teaching men that they should go sleep around, which is really, really stupid when you think about it. The guy who's out here saying, oh, women are this and women are bad and women are, hoes and sluts and you shouldn't marry a woman who has a low body count and all this kind of stuff, is teaching men to go have high body counts. That doesn't make any sense. Why is he doing that? Because he's an agent. Because he's working out a role. Okay, and he's even admitted to working for these agencies. So that's a big clue. They love to hide in plain sight. The occult. It's a deep, deep, deep club. It's a big club, and you aren't in it. You and I are not in it. Okay, to quote the great George Carlin, it's a big club, and you and I aren't in it, and probably George Carlin was in it. Okay. Anyway, that's how crazy it gets, because they like to tell us what they're doing. It's a ritual. It's a mocking ritual where they tell us what they're doing. It's also a way of appeasement, or I should say, it's a way of ridding their conscience from guilt. They tell us what they're doing, and then somehow that, in their twisted thinking, that makes them absolved from the consequences of what they're doing. Really twisted stuff, guys. The occult is dark. It's satanic, right? I say there's so much evidence against him. It's uncanny. Why is he still free? Because he has work to do for the satanic global elite. Again, I've said this before. If you study Andrew Tate, he's got mountains of evidence against him. I have actually a list of stuff saved that's just YouTube videos that where people do deep dives into his criminal acts and the criminal evidence and his criminal history against him. Okay, one of those guys is called Common Sense Skeptic, I believe. And he does a very thorough investigation into all the evidence, not hearsay, not opinion, evidence that's against Andrew Tate. You can go find that, Common Sense Skeptic. Yeah, so why would somebody who has all these charges against him, right, why would he still be free? Is it because Romania is just slow in their judicial process, or is it because, there's just not that much evidence against him, which is what his followers say, which is not true. There's tons of it. No, it's because he has work to do. He's a part of the matrix, because all the countries in the world, or all the, I don't know every country, but many, 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 many countries in the world are all working together as a global cabal, a global new world order, right? And they're all part of the same thing, and that's why somebody like Andrew Tate can float around and not be in jail. All the world's a stage. The other thing is, if you put a picture of him next to a picture of Alastair Crowley, okay, they look the exact same. This guy is I would say likely that he's an offspring of Alastair Crowley. Why do I say that? Because the occult and Satanism and witchcraft and all that is linked to the military, and he has a background. He has a military background. His dad was in the military. His dad is also a chess player, which makes his dad very, very intelligent. And if I'm not mistaken, his dad worked in an intelligence role, or an intelligence capacity at Washington D.C. I believe. I think he might have even been born in Washington D.C. if I'm not mistaken. So here you got all the dots are connecting, right? Looks exactly like Alastair Crowley. And again, why would that matter? How do I connect those dots? How do you go from the military to Alastair Crowley? I'll tell you, because again, the occult is linked to the military. Also, what's his face? If you go down that rabbit hole of who is it? Jim Morrison, whose dad worked in high level intelligence for the military. There's a theory out there that, hippie music and Jim Morrison, all these kind of things are, back in the 70s was a psyop, was COINTELPRO, right? And it's true. And so you have these links and these dots that you have to connect, and you kind of got to study, you kind of got to know what you're talking about in order to connect the dots. The average person wouldn't get it, right? Why and how is the military linked to the occult? It's because they're very much into learning how to control. They're very much into learning how to manipulate the masses, okay? And when you dip into witchcraft and things like that, there's powers and things like that behind that, because you're dealing with demons when you're talking about witchcraft, right? If you're talking about, this is why the Bible says stay far away from witchcraft. Do not take any part in witchcraft. Or the occult. The Bible's very against the occult, very against witchcraft. It's very against the deep state, right? Who's the deep state? It's the Freemasons, it's the Zionists, it's the Rothschilds, it's the royal family, it's all these factions, right? The Catholic Church, right? They're all working together with these agencies, okay? And they're behind the scenes, and their main goal is to manipulate the world. Their main goal is to manipulate people's minds. Okay, so you have things like the Monarch Project Monarch or whatever. What's that one called? I think it's Project Monarch, if I'm not mistaken. Anyway, you get into this stuff, and it's stuff that they implement into certain aspects of normal life, such as music or movies and things like that. It's mind control, it's neurolinguistic programming, it's ultimately brainwashing and misleading people, because these people are evil, right? It's deep level evil. So it's definitely not a stretch for Andrew Tate to look exactly like Alastair Crowley. He doesn't look like his dad. Okay. He looks like Alastair Crowley. Go look it up, take a picture of Alastair Crowley and put it right up next to Andrew Tate. They look the exact same. So why would he have his genes? Isn't that such a weird stretch? Well, these people are into bloodlines, okay? Bloodline meaning how you pass down your seed. They believe in royal bloodlines. They believe in really strict procreating, so that certain bloodlines can get passed down. So someone's bloodline, such as Alastair Crowley, is a coveted bloodline because of the advanced occult, how Alastair Crowley was so powerful in the occult. So his genetics and his seed is very sought after, and that's something that they play around with. They play around with genetic modification, et cetera, et cetera. So it's no surprise that they would take his bloodline, and then that would be part of, you know, COINTELPRO, or would be part of, implementing these things on society. So it's all witchcraft, man. It's the occult. It's devilish. It's satanic. So I think ultimately this means that he's an agent of Satan. Ultimately, he says he may be working simply as an agent of evil to mislead the minds of the youth. Again, that's COINTELPRO. Or he may be working in a quote unquote Jeffrey Epstein capacity, or both, right? Considering the main charges against him are human trafficking. So he's been exposed as a human trafficker of, as far as we know, mostly adult. I think all are mostly adult, and there may have been a few underage women. I'm not 100% sure on that. But who else has done? Who else was in that capacity working for the deep state? Jeffrey Epstein, right? So they have these agents. They have these go-betweens, or these workers, right? Who are on the ground, who are out at the clubs, who are out doing recruiting, who are out, implementing these evil ideologies on society. So it makes a lot of sense that these guys would be, implemented into the red pill, because the red pill has been a big, even though the red pill is not a movement. I don't subscribe to that being a unit, a movement, the red pill. It's more like the red pill is just the truth. However, it gained traction and it gained power over the last, I'd say, 10, 15 years, particularly, to where a lot of young men were adherents of it. A lot of young men followed it, bought into it. And when did Andrew Tate pop up? He popped up around 2018, 2019, somewhere around there. Why? He just came out of the blue. Why? Why not listen to somebody like Sandman, or why not follow Rollo Tomasi, or some of the other red pill guys, right? Why did everybody just glom onto Andrew Tate? Because he's the distraction. He figured out, or the deep state figured out a way that they could distract young men from really making a movement that was, or I shouldn't use the word movement, but from really making changes in society that might actually undo certain, feminist things that feminism did to society. It might undo some of the negativity surrounding feminism, right? The only thing that could counter feminism really is the red pill, right? How do you kill the lie? You kill the lie with the truth. How do you kill the negative elements of lies and these evil ideologies? Well, you use the truth. You free people's minds, and you say, look, you don't have to be a part of this, or you don't have to. So, it's a counter movement. I should say they turned it into a counter movement, or it's the truth is a counter to the lie, right? So it would make sense that they would infiltrate this movement to redirect it whichever way they want to go, and that's what COINTELPRO essentially is, right? These deep state agents who come in and manipulate things. That's what that is. So that's what they do. So why would that be Andrew Tate? Why would that be Myron Gaines? Because look at where they're pointing you to go. Look at where they're leading you to go. Materialism, fornication, potentially alcohol and drug use, right? Partying lifestyle, right? Look at the things these guys promote. They promote sleeping around. They promote getting rich and buying, expensive things, and materialism. They promote that worldly, sinful, satanic road, right? Go down this road. Don't go towards God. Don't go towards Jesus. Don't go towards the truth. Don't go towards, traditional values, go sleep around, go party, go be, go be an alpha male, which is stupid. Go do all these things, right? So they're just blind leaders of the blind. They're Pied Pipers in the wrong, to lead you down the wrong road. That's what they are. I don't know if there's much else to say about that, but again, I would just say, pay attention to the clues, right? Pay attention to the clues. This right here is a big fat clue. I'm not even sure I would trust Pearly things. She seems weird. The way her story seems a little off. I don't know who this person is on the back. There's some dark stuff, man. This guy's always doing this symbol when people say, oh, that's the powerful symbol when people are really trying to concentrate or whatever. Like, oh, really? Why is he trying to concentrate with the power symbol just for a picture, just for a photo op? He's not saying anything. He's not thinking anything. He's just standing there. This is a gang sign, right? This is an affiliation gang sign. Why do they do it? They do it to show others who they are. They do it to show others in their circle that this is what they are. And they're also doing it just to brag. The same reason why a Crip or a Blood, which by the way is COINTELPRO, Crips and Bloods stem out of the Black Panther Party, which was again a movement to protect black people. It started in Compton. It was a movement. The Black Panther Party was a movement to protect black people from police brutality, and the deep state came in with COINTELPRO agents, and they turned them against each other, and they turned into the Crips and the Bloods, and they started killing each other. So it started out as a way to protect black communities, and it ended up in blacks killing each other in the gangs for Crips and Bloods. And who did that? The government did that. The deep state did that. That's COINTELPRO. These agents did that. Okay, it's the same thing. So the same thing as the Bloods and the Crips have hand signals. It's all about duality. When you go back and you look at all these rap albums, such as the Bloods and Crips Banging on Wax album, I think that was released in like 1992 or 93. They're standing on a checkerboard, black and white floor. Black and white is an occult symbol. A checkerboard floor is an occult symbol for duality, right? When you study the occult, you kind of know you kind of realize these things, right? So it's there is giveaways, there is clues, there's tells, right? If you know what to look for. Okay, so again, him doing a hand symbol is very similar to the Bloods and the Crips showing their affiliation. They like to show their affiliation. Freemasons often use the hidden hand symbol, where they put their hand in their shirts, in their coats or whatever, to show that they are part of the Freemasons. The hidden hand symbol. So this is an occult symbol, a satanic symbol, as above, so below. Also the star, also the so-called Star of David or whatever, that hexagram that we know who uses, right, as their flag, right? That's also an occult symbol, and actually apparently it's the most. I watched a video on it the other day. It's the most powerful. It's one of the most powerful occult symbols out there. So he's very much, I believe he's an occultist. I believe he's very much in the deep state, and he looks just like Alastair Crowley. He very well just could be what we call a quote unquote industry plant, or he's just a plant. He's just a mole or whatever you want to call it. He's a deep state agent, right? And he's telling you what he is. He's telling you his affiliation here. Look at his face. He's very serious. Right, this is very dark stuff. Right, this is dark stuff. The Bible says that when Satan was tempting Jesus, that Satan admits that he gives power to whomever he wills. Right, Satan gives go read that when Jesus went out into the wilderness and he was fasting for 40 days, and then Satan came and tempted him when he was at his weakest physically as a man. Right, Jesus is both God and man. Right. So he put on the limitations of a man. So when he went out into the wilderness to fast for 40 days and Satan came and tempted him, what did Satan say? He said, I will give you all the power over all the kingdoms of the earth if you bow down and worship me. He says, I have power to give to whomever I will. So all these people who are powerful, these leaders, these actors, these musicians, these sports players, etc., etc. All these people who are very powerful and very rich, they're put there by Satan. They are Satan's children, so to speak, right? They are Satan's hirers, or they're Satan's hirelings, meaning he's hired them to make up his little world, right? And that's what it is. And so, how could somebody like Andrew Tate come along and all of a sudden he's just got, he came out of nowhere. He claimed he came from poverty and all this stuff, right? And then all of a sudden he's got all these riches and he claims he's a multi-millionaire. And sure, you could say he's lying, and he probably is to some degree, but he still has a compound in Romania. He's still got all these cars. He's still got all this money to market himself. And who's marketing these people, right? Really, what you got to pay attention to is you got to pay attention to the marketing, because marketing is expensive. It costs money. Marketing bucks matters. Who's out here putting these people at the forefront? Why is this guy all over YouTube, all over your news feed, all over in every interview, right? That's no mistake. That's no coincidence. Most average, talkers or people or whoever are not as popular as Andrew Tate. All of a sudden, he just catapulted to superstardom out of nowhere on a platform of, that on an unpopular platform, claiming to be the red pill, right? It's unpopular. And what is there's a quote out there that says, the best way to control the opposition is to become the opposition yourself, or something like that. I think it's a Joseph Stalin quote, if I'm not mistaken. This stuff is deep, and it goes deep, and it's, we're talking mind control, we're talking brainwashing, we're talking propaganda. It never ended. Just because World War II stopped and all this, all that stuff never ended. It just got smarter. It just changed its directives, right? They're trying to mislead people. They're trying to lead people down the wrong path. It's all satanic. They're trying to lead people away from God, right? They're trying to lead people away from the truth. It is what it is. I think people need to wake up, learn these things, because I think there's a quote that says, once people learn how to read signs and symbols, once people learn how to read signs and symbols, they will. I forget who said that. It was one of the guys who invented the Illuminati or whatever, the modern occult. You can Google it. It says, once the world learns the signs and symbols, then they'll be able to understand, all the secrets of the universe, something like that. You can Google it, but it all adds up, man. Again, and it's true. Once you know what to look for, once you learn how to read the signs and symbols, you'll know who these people are. You'll know what they're doing. You'll you'll understand their motivations. And again, you got to have the Bible as a backdrop. You got to understand that there are dark forces out there who are using men and manipulating mankind to do these things. They use men. How do they do it? They pick certain people and they use them to implement evil on humanity. All right. Thanks for listening. It's been Jay Lee. Oh, and I would say, the other thing I would say lastly is, if you a tree is known by its fruit, right? A tree is known by its fruit. If you're going to figure this stuff out, look at what people are saying and listen to what they're promoting. Listen to the kind of stuff that they are, even watch what they do, right? Watch what they do. If somebody's into materialism, if somebody's into, partying, drugs, drinking, whatever, like, that person doesn't have your best interest in mind. That person doesn't, they're not the savior that they claim to be. Andrew Tate claims to be the leader of the red pill. Of course they do, because of course he does. That's what he's supposed to do, because he's misleading massive amounts of young men. So anybody comes along and says, oh, I'm your savior, I'm this, I'm that, well, pay attention to what they do in their personal life. Pay attention to what they promote. Now, I'm not saying, oh, nobody can go have a drink, or nobody can, ever smoke a cigarette or something. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is, pay attention to the whole picture. Everything they're promoting. Listen to their message. Listen to everything they promote. Again, these guys are promoting degenerate lifestyles. They're promoting the debauchery that actually caused the problems in the first place. How did we get here? Because feminism implemented degeneracy. It told women they could go sleep around. That's evil. So what the deep state is trying to do is they're trying to tell young men they can go sleep around. That's what Myron Gaines and Fresh and Fit are doing. Oh, go sleep around. Go sleep with at least 40 women or 45 women or whatever, 50 women before you're 30 years old, so you're smart and you're wise and you know how to deal with women. I mean, that's horrible advice, unfortunately. It's satanic evil advice. It's damaging advice. It's going to harm many people, and these people have no conscience. And again, these people are smart enough to know what they're saying. So they know what they're doing. I don't buy into it that it's just ignorance or whatever. It's planned. It's on purpose. All right, that's all I got to say. Thanks for listening. Jay Lee, Northwest Podcast. Peace.